Avraham Levine is a spokesperson of Alma Research and Education Center, an organization focused on Israel's northern borders and communities. Avraham, thank you so much for being available at this difficult time.
My pleasure.
I wanted to ask you, as we've seen during past few days, hundreds of missiles have been fired into northern Israel from Lebanon. Some even 200s in a single day. It's not a new phenomenon, and there has been daily incoming rockets since October 7th and even before. How close to open warfare does this bring the conflict now?
So in many ways, we're at war since mid-October. And I'm speaking about the north, not about Hamas in Gaza. I'm speaking about Hezbollah in South Lebanon, as well as Hamas in South Lebanon. And Hezbollah has been shooting mortars, rockets, and missiles since October. As you said, thousands up to now, tens every day, about 200 locations every month, October, December, and so on and so forth till today. In the past few days, we saw escalation as IDF took out, killed high-ranking Hezbollah commander, and Hezbollah retaliated by enlarging the range of targets that they chose. Up to now, Hezbollah was focused on the area close to the border, which is a lot of it is actually evacuated because of the fire. 43 communities on the northern front are already evacuated since mid-October for the past 7 months. This time, Hezbollah retaliated with way more fire, as you said, over 200 missiles, rockets, and to areas that are not evacuated, filled with civilians like Tveria, Haifa, Tzfat, big cities in the north, all in range of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has way more than they already shot at us, also in terms of range and also in terms of accuracy. We are closer to a war. We're not there yet. Hezbollah retaliated, and we'll see if this continues. If this escalation direction continues, then we might reach what we call a full-scale war, ground operation. But right now, it's still contained to artillery, high trajectory, or direct hits from rockets and missiles.
You mentioned fires, and that's what I wanted to ask you as well. So big parts of northern Israel have been damaged by fires. And fighting it over such large area is expensive in terms of dedication of personnel. How long can this be sustained?
It's a good question. You have to remember that taking care of these fires, taking these fires out while the weather is in Hezbollah's favor in this case, very warm, dry weather, in very large areas that are under threat of Hezbollah is a challenge that we're facing right now, and our firefighters are doing a good job under the circumstance. But there is way more damage than would be in regular days without the threat of being shot at day and night.
For now, there are no, I would say, new ways of fighting these fires, of dealing with this issue. Is that correct?
There's no new ways, even the ways that we all know, using airplanes, for instance, we're not using if it's too close to Hezbollah, and they don't work at night, which limits our ability to take out the fires as fast as we're used to.
In previous conflicts, the de facto buffer zones were dug out from enemy territory. This time, Israel's own borders are being effectively pushed back, I have to mention, and Israelis removed from their homes in the north are speaking of not being able to return. What does your organization foresee?
First of all, you're very right. Hezbollah's greatest victory is pushing the border down to the south in a way. Not that we gave up any land. The fence is still there. IDF is still there. But the people, the residents are not there. 60,000 people from all those communities that we mentioned, 43 communities, are not at home. And like you said, there's a buffer zone, but on our expense. We cannot continue that strategy. If Hezbollah chooses to shoot more areas, we will not be able to evacuate, not in terms of the number of people, not in terms of giving up land. Israel is not a big land, and that's not the plan. So I think if Hezbollah think that's the direction things are going, I think they have another thing coming.
So what would be the future expectations? Do you think that this escalation would lead to attacks on central and southern areas from Lebanon as well?
Fire will be answered with fire. That's true for both sides, obviously. But I think up to now, Lebanon was not hit. We were always focusing on Hezbollah. But Lebanon is a sovereign country, and I think they should be prepared that the more Hezbollah attack, the more Lebanon will suffer. And that's a sad fact, not a threat. But eventually the civilians there are the ones being threatened. They were also evacuated. Many of them left their homes. And if they want a place to return to, they'll have to take that into consideration.
And what about central and southern areas of Israel? Do you think they can be affected and attacked by Hezbollah?
Hezbollah has the ability to attack everywhere in Israel. Hezbollah has the ability definitely to attack the whole north, but actually Hezbollah's holy grail would be Tel Aviv. In Nasrallah's words a few years ago, he said between Netanya and Ashdod, the whole coast, heavily populated area, is his biggest target. But if he goes there, hitting civilians, killing civilians, then he'll be ready. He should be ready, and I think he knows that will bring us to a full-scale war, to a ground maneuver back into South Lebanon to eliminate the threat.
We today have seen the video of Israeli soldiers using an old weapon, trebuchet. Why are such weapons are now used by Israeli army in the north?
I don't think that's a method that's really being used. I've seen that come out. I don't think that's something that people are using all over. That might be a local initiative that I'm not sure what I think about.
Well, okay. I also wanted to ask you about the economic predictions. What is being lost and how long would it take to return to today's levels in this fighting non-stops today?
First of all, there's two things that I think we should bring up. First of all, is the economic toll on the whole country in terms of reserves, people not in their jobs, businesses going out of business, and larger businesses just losing their personnel because people have been in the reserves for 100, 150, 200 days already, and you can't really keep up your routine without your people. And the second thing is the Northern Front. The factories, the farmers, everybody in the north is out of their home, out of their job. And a lot of them lost their homes. To bring them back will cost a lot of money. And this toll is something that we'll have to deal with for the next few years, maybe decades, to rebuild the north. If you think of Metula, even if everything is done and Hezbollah magically disappears, it will take a few years to rebuild Metula. And these people need a place to stay in the meantime. And the answer is not a hotel somewhere else in Israel. So there's a lot of work and a lot of investing that has to be done in the north to bring the people back to their normal life.
And in terms of timing, what does Alma Center foresee here? You said a few years up to a decade. Did I hear that correctly?
In terms of economics, it will take years. In terms of bringing them back or a ground maneuver, I assume that if IDF wants to take Hezbollah out using a ground maneuver, the next few months are crucial. We do not want to fight in the winter, so we don't have the timetable is not very long. There's a window of opportunity from now to about September, October, and I think it has to be contained to that time and not take us into winter in South Lebanon.
How likely is the ground operation now, would you say?
I don't want to use my crystal ball today, but I would say that the more the situation in the north escalates, and the closer we get to a deal in the south, then the option of a ground maneuver is more and more probable. Today,
we saw horrific news about son of a former Israeli ambassador who was found decapitated in northern Bedouin town. Do you think it is connected to the ongoing conflict and how it may influence the war?
I don't know if that's a criminal act or a national terrorist act, and I think we should wait and save our judgment till we have more facts about the story.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights on what's happening on Israel Northern Front. It's really important. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.